Hey everyone, and welcome back to a new video. Today I wanted to share some of the books that I recently got from the library. I don't remember the last time I shared a library haul. I don't typically film them just because I only usually get a couple books out at a time. But in the last few weeks, I have put through quite a few holds and they all just decided to come in at once, basically. So I have 12 books to share. It's kind of a mix of books. There are some middle grade as well. I didn't film any TBR for middle grade March. I didn't plan any TBR for middle grade March. I wasn't even sure that I would read any middle grade this month. And I want to read at least one. So I do have some books that I got from the library. I also own some middle grade on my shelves, which I can pick from. But this year, I'm really trying to just mood read, savor each book that I'm reading, read a bit slower than before. And I am sort of reading slower than usual. I'm taking more notes when I read, which is helping. I'm going on a tangent right now. All that to say, I didn't film any sort of TBR. I haven't planned on filming any TBR for middle grade March. And I think that there's also March Mystery Madness. So with those readathons, they're so fun. I love middle grade, I love mystery books, and I do want to read those genres this month, but I'm listening to my mood at the end of the day. So with these books from the library, they are possibilities. What will really encourage me to pick any of these books up is what your thoughts are. So if you want to leave a comment below, if you've read any of the books I mentioned, if you think I should prioritize any of them, please let me know. And that might just convince me to read the books that I mentioned. Some of them I think I put on hold in 2023, so I don't even remember putting them on hold, but they were there when I went to the library. So I got those as well, and let's just go ahead and go through them. Like I said, there are 12. So the first book here is called Dead Woman Walking by Sharon Bolton. This one is a mystery that I haven't heard many people talk about, but I saw someone that I follow, I can't remember, but someone that I follow on Goodreads or I'm friends with on Goodreads read it and really liked it, and it piqued my interest, so I put it on hold. It's March Mystery Madness. Maybe I will get to it, and of course let me know if you have read it. It says, just before dawn in the hills near the Scottish border, 13 passengers on a hot air balloon witness a brutal murder. Within the next hour, all but one of them will be dead. Alone, scared, and trusting no one, she flees for her life, running to the one place she feels safe. But she's seen the killer's face, and he's seen hers, and he won't rest until he's eliminated the last witness to his crime. It says, utterly suspenseful, a terrific twisted read, an ever-creeping sense of dread rises from every page, reminiscent of Agatha Christie. So that sounds interesting. I think the premise of a hot air balloon ride being where the murder takes place is very interesting, and it is near the Scottish border. It's set in the UK. That's perfect. I am really intrigued. This next book sounds so sweet, and I've heard that it is really good for fans of Little House on the Prairie, which I am definitely a fan of that series, the TV show and the books. I love them so much. And that is Caddy Woodlon by Carol Ryrie Brink. This one I've heard quite a few people talk about, including Kate Howe, and I think she's the most recent one that I've heard talk about this book. And it just sounds so sweet. It says, Caddy Woodlon is a real adventurer. She'd rather hunt than sew and plow than bake, and tries to beat her brother's dares every chance she gets. Caddy is friends with Indians, who scare most of the neighbors who, like her mother and sisters, don't understand her at all. Caddy is brave, and her story is special because it's based on the life and memories of Carol Ryrie Brink's grandmother, the real Caddy Woodlon. Her spirit and sense of fun have made this book a classic that readers have taken to their hearts for more than 70 years. It sounds very sweet, and I can see it also has illustrations. It's very reminiscent of Little House based on what I read on the back, and I believe it was published in the 30s. So yes, the 30s. I do really want to read this book, whether I get to it in March or not. It is definitely on my TBR. We also have Emily Wilde's Map of the Other Lands by Heather Fawcett, and this is book 2 of the Emily Wilde series. I've read and I do own book 1, and I liked it. There were things about it that I didn't really care for, but I do want to try book 2. I've heard that it's even better than the first book, so I'm hopeful if I end up reading it that I will like it. And if you don't know what the Emily Wilde books are about, Emily Wilde, it's set, I believe, in the 1800s. She is a scholar of fairies. So this book is kind of historical fantasy, but it's set in a world like our own. She visits this fictional place that's reminiscent of Iceland, Finland, kind of Scandinavia, and she studies fairies, and it's very scholarly. It kind of sort of has a dark academia feel to it in a way, but it's very cold and atmospheric, and it is interesting. Even though a lot of things didn't work for me in the first book, I do want to try this one. And this one, it says, when mysterious fairies from other realms appear at her university, curmudgeonly Professor Emily Wilde must uncover their secrets before it's too late, in this heartwarming, enchanting second installment. I did like how in the first book, Emily has a rival within her academic circle, I guess. And I'm curious to see where that relationship goes. He was very fun to follow in the first book, so we shall see if I read this, how I like it. Another one I've heard great things about is called Brother's Keeper by Julie Lee, and first of all, this cover is beautiful. It is set in North Korea in the 50s, and it sounds really, really good. It says, North Korea 1950. 12-year-old Sora Pak and her family live under an iron set of rules. No travel without a permit, no criticism of the government, no absences from communist meetings, repeat slogans, don't trust your neighbors, don't speak your mind, you're being watched. There's no hope for escape until war breaks out between North and South Korea. Suddenly, there is chaos and everyone is fleeing. The Pak's plan to get to freedom is simple. They will walk hundreds of miles from their tiny mountain village to the South Korean city of Busan. But when a bombing changes everything, Sora must get herself and her 8-year-old brother, Young-soo, to South Korea alone, across rivers, over mountains, around enemy soldiers and border guards, and even through Pyongyang itself, all while staving off frostbite and starvation. Can 2 children survive 300 miles of war zone in winter? That sounds very good. I believe this is middle grade. I might read it for middle grade March. If any of you have read it, please do let me know. The next one is called The Length of a String by Alyssa Brent Wiseman. And it does look like this one is partly epistolary, which I am very intrigued by because I do enjoy epistolary novels. But this one says, Imani knows exactly what she wants as her big bat mitzvah gift, to find her birth parents. She loves her family and her Jewish community in Baltimore, but she has always wondered where she came from, especially since she's Black and almost everyone she knows is white. Then her mom's grandmother, Imani's great-grandma Anna, passes away, and Imani discovers an old journal among her books. It's Anna's diary from 1941, the year she was 12 and fled Nazi-occupied Luxembourg alone, sent by her parents to seek refuge in Brooklyn, New York. Anna's diary records her journey to America and her new life with an adopted family of her own. And as Imani reads the diary, she begins to see her family and her place in it in a whole new way. That sounds like a very sweet story, so definitely intrigued. Next, we have Planet Earth is Blue by Nicole. Not sure how to pronounce her last name, but this one I have seen very high praise for. I did have to pull up Goodreads as the summary is not on the back, so to Goodreads we go. It says 12-year-old Nova is eagerly awaiting the launch of the space shuttle Challenger. It's the first time a teacher is going into space, and kids across America will watch the event on live TV in their classrooms. Nova and her big sister Bridget share a love of astronomy and the space program. They planned to watch the launch together, but Bridget has disappeared and Nova is in a new foster home. While foster families and teachers dismiss Nova as severely autistic and nonverbal, Bridget understands how intelligent and special she is, and all that she can't express. As the liftoff draws closer, Nova's new foster family and teachers begin to see her potential, and for the first time, she's making friends without Bridget. But every day, she's counting down to the launch and the moment when she'll see Bridget again. Because Bridget said, no matter what, I'll be there, I promise. That sounds so sweet, and I'm kind of sad to say I have only read maybe 1 or 2 books where the main character is on the autism spectrum, and I do want to read more. I am intrigued. Let me know if you've read it, if you liked it, if you didn't like it. I'm very, very curious. Next one is this adorable collection of stories. It is the Usborne illustrated stories of princes and princesses. It is so cute. It just made me think of my childhood. I used to be obsessed with this type of story and these types of illustrations. Just precious. It is so, so cute. I love it. There's also a collection like this of ballet stories. There is one of Dickens stories and Shakespeare. I'll put pictures of those on the screen. But this is the only one that my library had, so I am very, very, very intrigued. It says, in the fairy tale world of princes and princesses, anything can happen. There are enchantments to break, glass hills to climb, giants to defeat, and true love to find. Much loved classics and some rarer tales are brought together in this gorgeously illustrated collection. I'm so excited. Next is one that I definitely want to prioritize this month, and that is Skunk and Badger by Amy Timberlake with pictures by John Klassen. The cover is so, so cute. It's just a little chapter book, but this one I heard about on Jen's channel, Jen from Jen's Reading Life, I believe is the channel name. I just recently discovered her channel through Kate Howe, and you should all subscribe. She's amazing. I love her videos. Her channel's linked below. But when she talked about this in one of her recent videos, I immediately put it on hold. I need to read this. It sounds so cute. It says, no one wants a skunk. They are unwelcome on front stoops. They should not linger in rock rooms. Skunks should never, ever be allowed to move in. But Skunk is Badger's new roommate, and there is nothing Badger, who prefers to be left alone with his important rock work, can do about it. Skunk plows into Badger's life, and Badger's life is upended. Rocket potatoes are left in corners, tails are flipped, the wrong animal is sprayed, and why oh why are there so many chickens? Newbery Honor author Amy Timberlake spins the first tale in a series about opposites who need to be friends in a book to read, reread, and read out loud again and again, with full color illustrations and additional black and white drawings by John Klassen. It sounds so fun. I am prioritizing this for sure. Next is a book I picked up because I have heard really good things about the author. I've never read anything by her, and this one really caught my interest, and that is The Beatrice Prophecy by Kate DiCamillo. She's written quite a few books, and I've heard good things. I'm not familiar with her works. And this one, like I was saying, really piqued my interest. It says, there is one creature that the monks of the Chronicles of Sorrowing fear above all others. Answellica the goat. The monks fear her sharp teeth and her hard head and wily ways. And so imagine Brother Edict's terror when he goes to feed Answellica one morning and finds a child in the pen with the demon goat. The child does not know where she came from. She does not know who her parents are. She does not know who her people are. She remembers only one thing, her name, Beatrice. The king's men, however, know who the child is, and they are searching for her. Sounds interesting. I'm curious if any of you have read this book or anything else by Kate DiCamillo, if you would recommend, or if there's any other book by her you would recommend, please do let me know in the comments. Next is a book that is tagged as both historical fiction and fantasy, and so I'm really intrigued. It is also a middle grade by Eva Ibbotson, and that is The Dragonfly Pool. And I know I've seen someone talk about this book. I cannot remember for the life of me who talked about it on YouTube, but they spoke about it and I put it on hold immediately. It's definitely an intriguing one. This one says, Tally is furious that she's being sent to a stuffy boarding school, and all because of the stupid war. But she soon discovers that Deldreton Hall is full of surprises. There's shy as a mouse Julia, who is hiding a sensational secret. Wild-haired Barney with his bizarre pet, I don't know how to say this word, but I will put the name of the animal on the screen, and a host of unusual teachers, including Magda, who's more homesick than the students. Tally comes to expect the unexpected, though she never imagined her first school trip would lead to such extraordinary adventures. From his castle home in Burgania, Prince Carl longs for a normal life and a father who isn't busy being king. Then a rabble of English school children arrives, and Carl meets the fierce, brave Tally, his first proper friend. But a sinister scheme to overthrow the royal family spells trouble for the prince, and Tally must hatch a daring plot to save him. That sounds like such a fun adventure, and I can see where the fantasy element comes in, as there's a fictional kingdom, but also set in England. I really like those types of books, so I'm very intrigued. This next book I put on hold months ago and I completely forgot about it, and it just came in. And I think the reason I did put it on hold was because of, first of all, the cover. Not a cover buy, we'll say a cover borrow. And also because an author that I have enjoyed in the past has a little blurb on the front cover. I'm talking about Featherweight by Mick Kitson, and the author that gave a little blurb is Jess Kidd. I have enjoyed a few of her books. So like I was saying, I don't remember putting it on hold, so let's see what it's about. It says, Annie Perry is born beside the coal-muddied canals of the Black Country at the height of the Industrial Revolution. When her father dies, her Romani family can no longer afford to keep her, and at 9 years old, she is sold for 6 guineas to the famous and feared bare-knuckle boxer Bill Perry, the Tipton Slasher. Bill is starting to lose his strength, but insists he has one last fight in him. In fear for his life, Annie steps into the ring, fists raised in his defense. From that moment on, she will fight, for Bill and for her future. A whole new world opens up for Annie, one of love, fortune, family, and education, but also of danger. One wrong move, one misstep, and the course of her life will be changed forever. That sounds very intriguing. I am curious to see what I think, and we'll see if I get to it. And the last book here is actually nonfiction, and this one is one that I've also heard nothing but praise for. I am talking about Cider with Rosie by Lori Lee, and this one is an illustrated edition, which I am very happy about. This one is actually a memoir about the author Lori, who grew up in the Cotswolds. I believe it starts around the time of World War I, so she was a young child during that time, and it's just her memoir living in the Cotswolds. I believe that Lori's father actually abandoned their family when she was very little, and It's just kind of a story of her childhood and how her mother really stepped in to be the best parent that she could be. So it just captured my interest. It's set in England. I do enjoy nonfiction if it's like memoirs about people that I am interested in, if it's set during a time I'm interested in, and it's also set in the Cotswolds, which is a bonus. So I hear it's very idyllic, the way that it describes the beautiful, beautiful villages, and I really do want to get to this one soon. I am very, very intrigued. Okay, so I was going to upload the video after the clip you had just seen, but after work today, and I'm still in my scrubs, I just got home. After work, I went to another library. So I do have a library card with 2 different libraries in 2 different cities. And I went to this one because I was in the area. So I ended up getting some more books. I don't know if it was the best idea. I'm feeling a little overwhelmed with the piles here, but I did go in and I went in for one book and ended up getting a lot more. So let's just go through them. Actually, it's not that much. I think I have 6. But anyways, I just finished Dear Mrs. Bird by A.J. Pierce, and I saw that this library had books 2 and 3 in the series. So we have Yours Cheerfully and Mrs. Porter Calling. I loved Dear Mrs. Bird. I gave it 5 stars, and I cannot wait to talk about it. And when I saw these, I decided to just get them. We'll see if I can get to them in the next couple of months, for as long as I'm able to have them checked out from the library. We shall see. But I loved the first book, and I'm definitely excited to continue the series. It's set during World War II, and I'm not going to say much else because I will talk about the first book in my wrap-up, but I'm very, very excited for these next 2 books in the series. And this next book I got because I've heard really good things about this author, and I think I might have tried one of her books and DNF'd it. I don't quite remember. But the book that I got is Mrs. England by Stacey Halls. And this one is, from what I know, a Victorian era, no, not a Victorian era, it looks like it's Edwardian, an Edwardian era Gothic story. I don't want to lengthen the video more than necessary, so there's just a little blurb I will read. It says, simmering with menace, Mrs. England is a portrait of an Edwardian marriage, an enthralling tale of men and women, power and control, courage, truth, and the very darkest deception. I like this type of premise where we have an outsider going into a community or a home, and there are things happening that are kind of unsettling. I really, really enjoyed that. It reminds me of Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier, so I am hopeful that I will like this if I do end up reading it. And the next book here is a fantasy, and this one I've heard really good things about. I'm a little hesitant to read it now after reading a blurb on the back that says it's great for fans of Naomi Novik. I'm not the biggest fan of her works. I've tried both Uprooted and Spinning Silver and did not really care for them all that much. But this book is A Queen in Hiding by Sarah Kozloff. It's the first book in a 4-book series called The 9 Realms. And I've heard such great things about this. So I am gonna, give it a shot. If I have time, I want to try it. And this one has a shorter summary, so I'll just read it. It says, orphaned, exiled, and hunted, Cerulia, Princella of Wearendale, must master the magic that is her birthright, become a ruthless fighter, and transform into the queen she's destined to be. But to do it, she must win the favor of the spirits who play in mortal affairs, assemble an unlikely group of rebels, and wrest the throne from a corrupt aristocracy whose rot has spread throughout the kingdom. It's gotten a lot of praise, and I believe this is the author's debut. We'll see if I end up trying it, but like I said, I heard really, really good things, and I am hopeful because I've been kind of not reading a lot of fantasy lately, but I'm feeling the mood come back, so we shall see. And then the next book was one that I guess you could call this an anticipated release, although I am a little hesitant to read it, but I have enjoyed a series by this author. I have mixed feelings about it, but I'm talking about Catherine Arden, and this book is The Warm Hand of Ghosts. That glare, I am going to just put a picture of the book on the screen because the glare is driving me nuts. But the Bear and the Nightingale series, I really, really enjoyed it when I read it. But now looking back, there are just things about it that don't really sit well with me. So I'm always hesitant to recommend it, even though when I read the series, I loved it so, so much. And this one sounds so good. The reason I'm hesitant is because it does have the paranormal elements, and just part of that, again, didn't really sit well with me in her trilogy. But I've heard amazing things about this one. It has a lot of high praise. It's just a new release. I forget what date it came out, but again, heard amazing things. And I'll just read the summary. It says, January 1918. Laura was a revered field nurse until she was wounded and discharged from the medical corps, leaving behind a brother still fighting in Flanders. Now home in Halifax, Canada, Laura receives word of Freddie's death in combat, along with his personal effects, but something doesn't make sense. Determined to uncover the truth, Laura returns to Belgium as a volunteer at a private hospital, where she soon hears whispers about haunted trenches and a strange hotelier whose wine gives soldiers the gift of oblivion. Could Freddie have escaped the battlefield only to fall prey to something or someone else? And then it looks like it goes back a few months, November 1917. Freddie awakens after an explosion to find himself trapped in an overturned pillbox with a wounded enemy soldier, a German by the name of Hans Winter. Against all odds, the two form an alliance and succeed in clawing their way out. Unable to bear the thought of returning to the killing fields, especially on opposite sides, they take refuge with a mysterious man who seems to have the power to make the hellscape of the trenches disappear. As shells rain down on Flanders and ghosts move among those yet living, Laura's and Freddie's deepest traumas are reawakened. Now they must decide whether their world is worth salvaging or better left behind entirely. The premise just hooks me in. I want to read this book and I want to love it. I have heard that it is really heavy on the historical wartime aspect of the book, and that it's much more historical than paranormal. I don't know. I guess we'll see if I end up reading it, but I think Catherine Arden is a very talented author, and I do love books set around the Great War. It's one of my favorite time periods, so fingers crossed that I will enjoy this book and that it won't cross any boundaries for me. And the last book that I got from this library is Marilla of Green Gables, and this one is of course about Marilla. It is her backstory before Anne came to Green Gables. I actually don't really want to know too much going into this. I just want to go in not knowing what to expect and see where the story takes us. I have heard mixed things about it, and that's also why I just want to not go in with any expectations from the summary or from anyone. So we'll see if I enjoy this one. So those are the 12 books I have picked up from the library. Please let me know if you've read any of them. I am considering all of them possibilities, but we'll definitely be looking through the comments to see if any stand out. I hope March is proving to be a wonderful reading month for you all. It's definitely been for me. I've read some great books so far, and I'm very excited for whatever video comes out where I talk about the books that I've been reading. But that is it for this video. Thank you to each of you for watching, and I will see you all next time. Bye!